Hello everybody, this is Ali and I am back with you for another video for Raid Shadow Legends. I am a late game free-to-play player, and for this video I wanted to make a guide on DWJ.com to help you adjust it to your liking. In order to do that, you're going to need to understand the basics of making a clan boss team for Ultimate Nightmare. The easiest way to make a team for Ultimate Nightmare would be making a 2-for-1 team. What does that mean? It means your team would go twice before the boss goes once. So that's 2-for-1. If it's 3-for-1, it means your team would go 3 times before the boss goes once. If it's a 4-to-3 ratio, it means your team goes 3 times for every your team goes 4 times for every 3 times that the boss goes, and so on. So the best way and the easiest way would be a 2-for-1 ratio team. And in order to make that kind of team, you need different methods. You can't just add the speeds and run champions with those speeds. So what are the methods? The methods would be a few different things. You either need a champion with increased speed and Terminator boost on a 3-turn cooldown, like Haikatoon, or you need a champion like Claude that just does the increased speed buff. And both of these champions need a champion that does the same ability as them. Like if they're just giving increased speed on a 3-turn, they're gonna need another champion that does increased speed at a 3-turn. Or if like they're like Haikatoon and they do Terminator boost and increase speed, they're gonna need another champion that does increase speed and Terminator boost to make them make a 2-for-1 team. Or you can just use a buff extender. So either the same ability or a buff extender. Another way that you can run a 2-for-1 team is to use a champion like Mashald that does the increased speed for 3 turn, but since he gets an extra turn, it means that he does it on 2 turns, so it wouldn't fall off your team and it's always up, so you need less speed requirements and you wouldn't need a buff extender or someone with the same ability. Another way would be using someone like Seeker that does 30% turn meter increase and gets an extra turn. So instead of a 3-turn once it's booked, it's a 2-turn. And the last champion that does this would be Deacon. Deacon does this on the A3 on a 3-turn cooldown, but because of the extra turn, it's actually 2 turns. It's a 15% turn meter boost. However, if you run really high speeds, you can and you should be able to make 2-for-1 teams with like other turn meter booster champions, but it wouldn't be really easy. It would be very difficult. So let's say you have one of these champions. Once you know that you have one of those champions that does one of those jobs, you go to Deadwood Jedi, you come here, and you're like, okay, which of those champions do I have? Do I have a Seeker? Okay, you just click on the Seeker, you open a new tab. Or do I have someone like a Deacon or someone like Archmage Helmet? He does increase speed as well, but he gets extra turn meter on the A1, so you're gonna need a buff extender. Or do I have Haikatoon? Let's say you have like either of these champions, and you want to know like what kind of teams you can make with them. You come here and you're like, okay, do I have champions in the Myth Hair? Click on it. You come here, you scroll down, you're like, okay, Razzle Lord, I don't have a Razzle Lord. And Demetha, I don't have a Demetha. What does Demetha do? Do I have someone to sub in for Demetha? Okay, so what does the method do? She extends buffs and she gives you block damage on a 3-turn cooldown. So 3-turn cooldown protection and block damage. Well, there's no other champion that does the same job. So you can't use this team. You scroll down, and these are kind of the same. You get here, you're like, okay, what is this Batman Forever team? I don't know what it is. You click on it, you scroll down, you're like, okay, so I need an unkillable champion with a 4-turn CD, and it's the same one here. The fast one is Warcaster in this case, and the slow one is Tower or Santa. What do these have in common? They have a 4-turn CD, block damage, or unkillable skill. You can use a Helicath maybe. And you're like, okay, well, I have Seeker, and I have these champs. I want to make them work. How do I do that? You scroll down, you read these first. You scroll down, you click on the Ultra Nightmare, and look at the speeds. You're like, okay, well, I want it to be affinity friendly. So to make a team affinity friendly, you need someone with block debuffs to go before the AoE 2 of the boss. You see here AoE 2 on the after the turn 4, after the turn 7. You need someone with block debuffs to go before the AoE 2 to make this affinity friendly. But because at the end of turn 4, you have both of your block damage champion go, you can't put your block debuff champion there, so you'll have to replace him with your DPS. Let's say we are using Marked. Let's say you're using Marked. Marked, there you go. Say you're using Marked. Here. But it's not going to work because after my Mark takes a turn, 2 other champions take a turn and they lose the block debuffs. So a 1-turn block debuffs wouldn't work in this team, but it might work if Mark was going last in the turn order. Do you see where I'm getting? But instead, like someone like a Brogni will work if you look at the turn 4, at the end, a 3 what buffs of Brogni lands because it's for 2 turns. It stays on everybody before the boss does the AoE 2. And if we change this to Spirit Affinity, it wouldn't change anything. Like this, the pattern stays the same. But not everybody has a champion with 2-turn block debuffs. So instead, you're going to have to use a cleanser as the second option. But how would you know where to put your cleanser? The cleanser wants to cleanse a debuff after the AoE 2. So the first person that goes after AoE 2 should be your cleanser. It's not Seeker because if you look at the team when it's in tune, the first person that goes would be Krila. So if you are going to use a cleanser, let's say you want to use maybe Doom Priest. Let's say you want to use Doom Priest. Doom Priest goes before after AoE 2 as the first person. So if we make this Spirit Affinity, if you look at the turn 2, everybody has the decreased speed debuff at first, but Doom Priest cleanses it, and on the turn 3, it becomes into sync. It goes into sync, and if you look at it all the way down, it doesn't get out of sync at all because Doom Priest cleanses it. Also, one good thing about Doom Priest is that generally she makes you stun friendly. It depends on where she would go after the clan boss stun. So, for example, in this after turn 2 and like turn 5, see on like turn 5 and turn 2, turn 8, clan boss does the stun. After the turn 5, the first person that goes is Doom Priest. So no matter who the sun lands on, Doom Priest can cleanse it. So you shouldn't have an issue with the stun here. Then you look at the survivability. Then you're like, okay, are my champions going to stay alive like this? If you look at the team setup, at least here, Rosh card on turn 3 does the block damage, and on turn 4, Warcaster does it, then on turn 5, Rosh card does it, and so on. It's the same pattern. So everybody's going to have the block damage, nobody's going to take damage, and they're going to stay alive. So it's going to work for this team. And you might want to use a DPS that has a speed aura. Let's say you want to use someone like a fu-shan instead of Feign, because if you get the speed aura, you can run your champions with lower speeds. But how would you put it in the calculator? So what you're gonna do is you go to the teams that you chose to build, you open an extra tab of the calculator, and you're like, okay, so I need 265 true speed on my champion. And on the main tab that we already have, you're going to add the speed aura of your champion, which is fu-shan. It's to 24%. And as you see, the true speeds of everybody goes up to 90.44 for Warcaster, and so on. And if you look at the original setup, it has to be 265 to work. So we're like, okay, we just decrease this to get to 265 true speed. And then we click on the next one. It has to be 248. We're going to decrease this to get to 248. Okay, and for the next one, 247 for the DPS and 246 for your block damage champion. You're like, okay, 247 and 246 for block damage champion. Okay. And here, Prelude, the last slot has to be 220 speed. The bottom speed, which is the true speed, is 242 here, 244 here. So we just decrease it until it's 222. It's 220. There you go, 220 speed. So the 24% aura, instead of running Warcaster at 265 speed, we're running him with 240 speed, which gives us more room to work on the damage of our team. Now, we go look at our team and we're like, okay, I wanted to use Helicat instead of Santa or Rush Guard. So we're like, okay, I'm just gonna put Helicat in there. But before we do that, we're gonna have to look at the setup that he has. So he has a delay on the block damage. So when you put Helicat in there, you have to do that one delay for the blood damage for it to work. If you don't do it, he doesn't do it in the right place. See, like he's doing it here on the turn 3 before the double turn of Seeker, and it's not staying on Warcaster, so he has to get that one delay. And when you do this, it's going to work as you see. It's still the same pattern. And if you click on the spirit, you'll have to always check with the spirit. And if you click on spirit, it seems to stay in sync. Now, these 2-for-1 teams generally have the same setup for Nightmare as well. So if you put this in Nightmare, it should work. See, like it gets to sync after turn 4, after turn 3 on turn 4. But in the Ultra Nightmare, it gets into sync on turn 3. But it eventually gets into sync. And if you look at it on Spirit, it's still the same and it's not affecting your speed setup. And if you put it on Void, it's still the same. It's not getting affected. It's Helicast goes before Warcaster, and there you have the block damage covered on everybody all the time. So it seems to be working. Okay, so you might want to like run another team. You may want to like run someone like Haikatoon. You choose, you find Haikatoon from the list, you click on it, as I said, you click on these teams one by one. I'm going to close these teams. You click on it. Let's say I want to run this team. I don't know what this team is. It's Maneater and Demitha. Well, I don't have them, so the sim is not for me. Let's say what White Whale is. It says Speed Champion, a buff extender, and 3 DPS. And it says 2 Q Ultra Nightmare. It seems to be a good team. Let's see how it works. You click on the buff extender Ultra Nightmare, and there's like different options. Buff extender Nightmare. No, we want the Ultra Nightmare. Double booster. Let's see what this one is. So here we have a buff extender, which is Haikatoon. And if you look here in front of Haikatoon, there is a speed aura of 19%, which she has, so it's added into the comp. There is a buff extender, as I said, then you have an increased speed and terminator booster, or an increased per speed champion. You either need someone with the same skill, or you need someone that extends that buff on a 3-turn cooldown. So Sandlash does that job here. If you look at it, it's the same pattern after turn 5. So in turn 6, 7, 8, and so on, it's the same pattern. But is this affinity friendly? Do I have block buffs that can cover my team? If you look at it here, no, we don't. We don't have block buffs. So where should I add the block buffs? We should add it on someone that goes before AoE 2. But since we can't really do that on a Haikatoon, you're going to have to do it instead of a DPS. And the DPS that can do it would be either Frozen Banshee, Marked, or Coffin Smasher. But since they all take 1 turn before AoE 2, you're going to need someone with 2-turn block debuffs on a 3-turn cooldown. So Marked would not be working here. We'll have to use someone like Brogni that does the job, and it has to have 2 turns. Does it have to have 2 turns? It has to have 3 turns delay so that he does it, or he does. Oh, actually, he doesn't need 3 turns. See, I make a mistake too. Without any delays, he does it before the AoE 2, and you're not going to have an issue for affinities. So let's see if it works in Spirit. See, it's not working. So he's not in the right place. So let's put Brogni in another slot. Let's just put a DPS in here. It should be working. Let's put Brogni in another slot. Which slot would be better? We're just going to look at it again. We're like, okay, who's going before the AoE 2? It's Sandlashed, Frozen Banshee, Haikatoon on the turn 1. Let's try it on Frozen Banshee's place. We put Brogni on Frozen Banshee's place. We're like, okay, I want it to be on 1 delay. So we put 1 delay in. Before the first AoE 2, it's on everybody on the turn 1. And on the other turn, Brogni goes right before Haikatoon, so it stays on everybody else. We're like, okay, let's put it on Spirits and see if it works. See, it stays the same. It doesn't have an issue. Okay, well, seems to be working. So we're just gonna put it on void. You may not have a bot buffs, and you may have someone like a Doom Priest to cleanse. So we're just gonna use a DPS here, Frozen Banshee, get back in. Who would you use the Doom Priest on? You're gonna use it on someone that does the cleanse and goes first after the area 2, exactly on Coffin Smasher instead of Coffin Smasher. So we use Doom Priest. Let's see if it works. It might not work sometimes. In some teams, the cleanser would not be working, and you might need to adjust the speeds, like increase them. But in this team, it seems to be working. It seems that Doom Priest cleanse is enough to make this affinity friendly. And you wouldn't have any issues with the stun either, because she goes first and cleanses it. So yeah. Also, if you decide that you don't want to use Haiketun as your leader, and you want to use someone else with like maybe like a better speed, you may like instead of this Frozen Banshee, you want to use a fu-shan again. You might have a fu-shan and like you want to use his aura because it's a bigger aura. So you're just gonna put the fu-shan in here. You're gonna go to DWJ, make this thing again, and you're just gonna add these true speeds into your main team. So like if I change the true speed, if I change the aura to 24%, it seems to be working, but I want it to be lower speeds. I don't want to use the same speeds with a better aura. It's just ridiculous. So I want to lower them to do the minimum speed and do more damage with my gear. So I need 268 speed on Haiketun. So I decrease this to 268. On Sandlash, I need 244. We decrease this to 244, and so on. So if you add an aura, you'll have to adjust it. Also, another thing that you have to always remember is that whenever you put your speeds in there to see if it's working, you click on the speed. You have three options. You have Lore of Steel, you have sets, you have base speed. If your champion is not 60 or like 6-star, their base speed might be different. Someone like Haiketun runs at 97 base speed if she's not 60 or if she's not 6 stars. So if she's like 5 stars, you're gonna have to add that 97 base speeds. But since she is 60 in this comp, we're just gonna add that 104. I hope it's understandable. And for the sets, you're going to build your team with speeds close to this and see if those speeds work. And before you equip those pieces, let's say you want to run your Haiketun with triple speed set. You add that triple speed set and you're like, okay, the build that it gave me is like 241 speed. You add the 241 speed with the triple speed set and you look here. Does this work? No. How much speed do I need? You just increase it. You're like, okay, so at 243, it works and it stays the same till the end. You're like, okay, so I need at least 243 with 3 speed sets. But if you change this to something else, it may not work. See, like a speed and perception, it's going to get messed up. So you're going to need more speed. You're going to need 244. So it's important that you put the speeds right in the calculator, and if it's working, you equip it on your champions. But if it's not working, you shouldn't equip it. I hope that makes sense. And for the mastery of Lore of Steel, I'm going to show you what it is. Lore of Steel. Lore of Steel, if you go to the support tree, this book, Lore of Steel, it gives you extra stats, 15% extra stats on the set. So like if you have a speed set on the champion, it gives that champion 15% of that 12% speed. I hope it makes sense. So like Lore of Steel works on the sets that give you speed, and it's gonna give you different speeds. So like if this speed gives you 5% speed, the 5% applies to the 1 or 2 base speed of Helicat. And then that 15% from Lore of Steel applies to the speed that you got from the speed set. So you get like 5.1 speed for Helicat, and that 15% applies to that 5.1 speed, and it gets a little bit messy. So you have to add Lore of Steel here, and you have to add the speeds. And the base speed, if your champion is not 6 stars. And that's it. I'm gonna explain some of the masteries for those people that don't know which masteries are good and which masteries are bad for clan boss. If you're running someone that makes your speed tune work, it could be your protector, like Helicat, or it could be an ally protection champion. It could be a shield champion. It could be an unkillable champion. You cannot have the masteries that give you a reset. Or if your champion is a speed booster, you cannot have a cycle of magic that gives you a reset chance, or the buff extension, the lasting gifts. It has a chance to extend the buff. So if the buff is increased speed, it's going to land on someone when it shouldn't, and it's going to mess up your run. And generally, on everybody else, you're not supposed to use rapid response because it gives you thermometer boost on the buffs when you don't want it, nor should you use arcane celerity because it does the same. Also, on the last row of support tree, the timely intervention or oppressor. And in the defense tree, there is one mastery called Cycle of Revenge. This one gives you extra turn meter. And on some teams, some champions get extra turn meter from doing A1s. On those champions, you shouldn't use deterrence because they're going to counterattack the boss when the boss does the stun. And if the comp doesn't allow you to do that, you shouldn't do it. You should always look at the settings and like the notes on DWJ for your team. And if here it says that deterrence is okay for your champion, you can use it. But if your champion gets extra turn meter from the A1 and it doesn't say that it's okay to use it, your champion shouldn't have that mastery. Same to counterattack, accessories, and so on. I hope that makes sense. And the offense tree, the masteries that are normally good for clan boss are War Master or Giant Slayer. Giant Slayer would be for someone that does more than that does 3 or more than 3 hits on their skills. And War Master is for people that do 1 or 2 hits on their skills. I hope it all makes sense to you guys. And I hope this video was helpful to you. If you have any more questions, please let me know in the comment section. And this is it for today's video. I'll be back with you guys in another video in the future. Have a great day. I'll see you guys later.